So here we have the Tanzbar Lite and the Tanzmaus, two analog drum machines from MFB. The Tanzmaus is part analog, part sample based, so you've got 5 analog instruments and 2 sample based instruments. And it's kind of voiced more to sound like a 909. It's the follower of the old MFB 503. The Tanzbar Lite is more kind of voiced to sound like an 808. Both of these instruments have 16-step sequencer and 64 pattern memories that you can save. You can also do pattern chaining, and you can chain up to 16 different patterns, and that can't be saved in memory, so it's done on the fly. So although this is a 16-step sequencer, you've got an A and a B section, and that can either be toggled manually, and you can get 32 steps, or you can use this shift function and button number 4, and it'll automatically toggle between A and B. As well as that, we've also got flamming, 4 levels of accents, and 5 LFOs. We've got this sound button up here, which is essentially a sound modifier. And on the Tanzbar Lite, we've got a few different things like rim shot volume up here, clap impulses, tuning of the cymbal, and the LFO functions. So you can choose the speed of the wave, the amount of LFO, and the different shapes. On the Tanzmaus, we've got a few more different functions. So we can choose the 16 different bass drum impulses, 8 different snare impulses, 16 different clap impulses, and also that's how you select the different samples. We've also got some of the LFO functions, but on the Tanzmaus we've got a data knob, and that controls the amount, and also some other sound modifiers. So here we've got the 2 machines running at the moment. Let's just turn down the Tanzmaus and just listen to the Tanzbar Lite for a second. So we've got a fully programmed pattern here, so let's just stop that and we can just go through each instrument. So let's just listen to the bass drum. Sounds very much like an 808 bass drum should do. We've got 4 controls for each of the instruments, level up the top, and then decay, tuning, and tone for the bass drum. So onto the snare drum. We've got tuning, noise, and decay, and then level up the top. Onto the rim shot, all we have is level, and that's accessed via the sound button. Claps, we've got decay and filtering and attack, and then level. Tom-toms, the tom and the conga track are tied together, so you've just got level, decay, and tuning for both of these 2 instruments. Onto the cowbell, we've got tuning and decay. Then onto the claves, same controls as before, just tuning and decay, and then level obviously up the top on these level knobs. Next we've got a cymbal, so we've got tone and decay of the cymbal, but you can also tune the cymbal on this sound button up here and choose one of the 16 different tuning settings. Onto the hi-hats, we've got 2 different hi-hat channels, so an open hi-hat and a closed hi-hat, and these, as with the tom and the congas, we've got note priority, so when one plays it will cut out the other. So let's just have a listen to the Tanzmaus. We'll stop the sequence and then go through each instrument. So bass drum, we've got a pitch envelope, and then tuning. Also got a noise amount, and then the decay amount of the noise. Then we've got attack and decay, overall decay. And then on the data knob over here we've got a little bit of very subtle drive. So onto snare drum, we have tuning, decay, and then decay and noise amount. And on the data knob we've got a pitch decay. if we turn down the noise, you can kind of make it sound almost like I guess more like a tom-tom. Rim shot again, we've only got level up here. Onto the claps, they actually come out in stereo. So we've got filtering, decay, and then attack on the data knob. We've also got 16 different impulses. Onto the toms, we've got attack, pitch envelope, and then tuning and decay. We've also got panning on the data knob, so you can move in the stereo field. And then we're on to the 2 sample channels. So if I just start the sequence, I'm in play mode here, and I'll just mute through some of my tracks. So in order to change the samples, I need to go into step mode. So I use the this button here, select my track, and you can see I'm on my sample channel now. And then I need to select which steps. So in this case, these 4 here. So I hold select the steps. I'm just going to turn toggle off. So we're just listening to the A section, and you can see that my steps are flashing. And then I hold the sound button and I can scroll through the 16 different samples. Incidentally, this way of selecting steps and then changing, say, the samples or the sound settings for that step, that's the same way that you would do a parameter lock per step, change it per step. So I think they sound really good. Something about 12-bit samples to me, it just has that like edge, seems to cut through. It's nice. You can change sample per step on the Tanzmaus as well. So let's just load up our original sequence. So for each of the sample channels, you've also got this alt channel here, and you get note priority, just as you did with the hi-hats and the congas on the Tanzbar. So moving on to the second set of samples. So this is the second sample channel now. So we've got 16 alternative samples to the first sample channel. So I need to go into step mode again, select my channel. You can see my notes, turn toggle off, and then I need to just select the steps again to change the samples on. So select, hit the samples. Now we go through the different samples. Cymbals. That's kind of Phil Collins, that one. So yeah, once again, I think they sound really great. Let's just load up this sequence again, and then go into play mode again, so all the lights are idle, and we can just unmute some more of our channels. So let's just have a look at programming the MFB drum machines. So it's the same sequencer, so programming them is exactly the same. So you've got 2 different ways you can program. You can either tap in your different drums, just like so, or you can go into step mode. So in order to do that, we need to start the sequencer. So let's start the sequencer. I'm just going to go onto my bass drum track. So hold this button, hit that track, and then I'm going to go into my snares. And then I'm going to go back into my bass drum, and I'm going to change this step. I'm going to change the parameters on this step. So select that step. Then I'm going to go into real-time record mode. So what I've just done there is change between manual mode and step mode. It's quite useful in a performance sense, because you can quickly start changing up your... And then when you flip back to step mode, it will just load up whatever was recorded into the pattern. So let's continue. Let's go on to some of these sample channels. So and then I'm in play mode when there's no buttons up here, when there's no lights on up here, so I can just mute out channels. So I've just muted the claps. Carrying on, let's go on to this sample channel. And then say for my first sample channel I'm going to put an LFO in, so let's go into the LFO channel and just hit one of those in. And you can hear the LFO working on that sample channel. In order to change the settings for that LFO, I just again hold my sound button, and then we've got a speed which is all based rhythmically on the master tempo, and then we've got the four different shapes. Obviously I can go back into play mode and then mute that out and go back to normal, or go into manual mode again. Also, what I haven't mentioned, we have got shuffle, so shift and then shuffle button here, and we've got 16 different levels of shuffle, which goes from nice and subtle to so obviously at the moment we're just running one 16 beat pattern. We can switch to the different section. Obviously there's nothing in that section, so I can copy the other one to the other one and then make a variation. So now I've copied B to A, and then I can go in and adjust some of my steps. And then obviously so let's just have a look at the other way that you can do parameter locks. Obviously before I showed you that you can select the different steps and then change the sound setting per step. However, you can also do real-time recording. So if I just go into my, we just focus on this snare channel here, so I'll just mute out some of the other channels. You can already hear that there's a lot of kind of parameter changes on that. So I just muted it there by accident. Let's just go into the step mode so you can see my steps. So in order to do real-time recording, you hold shift and then hit this reel button here, and then you get one pass of the sequence to do your parameter changes, and then the real-time recording is turned off. So at first I kind of found that a bit confusing, because if you don't get in there quickly once you've turned real-time recording off, you can miss your chance to do your parameter changes. Obviously I can still do the kind of step changes, so obviously you can see I've just selected that channel, and then I can change the settings for that step. So this is also the way that you would do accents and flamming as well. So you select the steps, so I'm going to select these two here. You can see that they're flashing, and then shift, and then I've got 4 levels of accent. At the moment it's all the way up, so I'm just going to turn it down, and you can hear that those 2 steps get quieter. So this is the same way that you do flamming. So you select the steps that you want to flam. So I'm going to select these 2 here, shift, and then hit flam. All the buttons will flash, and then you can go through your 16 different flamming settings. So let's just have a look at the pattern chaining. It's relatively easy to do. So you just, it's another combination of buttons. So if we just select a sequence here, so use the sequence select, I'm going to select this number 4, start the sequence. So this is a sequence I've already programmed. So in order to do pattern chaining, I just hold the chain button here and then select which sequences I want to chain. So I'm going to go 4, 2, 2, 5, 5, 6, 7. So in order to execute that pattern chain, I hold shift and then the chain button, and then these lights should flash to show that I'm in a chaining mode, and you can hear it move through the different sequences. So one thing I haven't shown is the back end of both of these two instruments have 5 individual outputs. The only difference being on the Tanzmaus, or on the Tanzbar, you have kick drum, snare drum, claps, and then toms and the conga are out the same channel, and then instead of obviously the sample, you get the hi-hat output. And on the Tanzmaus, you just get sample 2, and whenever you jack into there, it removes it from the mix output. Pretty standard. And then we've got MIDI in and out on both the two machines, output, power switch. So overall, I really like the sound of both of these two instruments. Personally, I'm kind of leaning more towards the Tanzmaus in terms of sound quality. I just prefer the samples, and I think it can kind of go a bit further in terms of sound possibilities than, say, the Tanzbar. Having said that, I think they can both go much further than a kind of standard 808 or 909 clone. The sequencers I found at first a little bit kind of awkward to use, and I found maybe some of the way that it displays what different modes you're in, it could be a little bit clearer. But I think that's probably just a consequence of this kind of small format sequencer. The Tanzbar Lite is 430 euros and the Tanzmaus is 480. And I think that's kind of representative of the tone sound possibilities of the Tanzmaus as opposed to the Tanzbar. You can go a little bit further with the Tanzmaus. You can also put your own samples onto the Tanzmaus. However, you have to go through MFB in order to do this. So they've set up like a little web page, and you send your samples off, they get converted and then into some code that you can then update your Tanzmaus with, and you'll get new samples. However, you actually have to pay per sample in order to do this. So I think that's maybe a little bit of an oversight. Having said that, the original samples sound great, and you can actually get new sample packs for the Tanzmaus as opposed to putting your own on, and they're a little bit cheaper than converting your own.